Hello, everybody. Welcome to another exciting post-season interview with another contestant from Survivor Millennium Park. Tonight, we've got a great guest for you. This Survivor superfan started the game on the Hara tribe after a rocky start to the game due to questionable prop design. He managed to survive the first tribal council and found himself in a great position in his tribe. His tribe went into day 2 with a majority and were poised to pick off the other team. But something happened along the way that we're going to get into. And ultimately, he was voted out in 7th place, earning the respect of the rest of his tribe, who did clap after unanimously voting him out. I am thrilled to sit down to talk to the one, the only, Zach.
Wow, what a fantastic intro. Thank you so much, Dylan. It's been so fun, from playing the game to watching it on YouTube to listening to every interview that's happened so far. This is a round of applause to you for all you put in. I feel like you maybe get lost the work you've done to make this so fantastic. So thank you, Dylan. Thank you.
That's very generous of you, Zach. That's not going to stop all the hardball questions I've got for you.
I can't wait to destroy your questions and prove to the world. I mean, I'm about to bury you for 3 hours about how this game was rigged against me. So I've got the evidence. So I got to even it out.
You're gonna like we're gonna pull a Dan Foley and pull out like the behind the scenes footage that reveals actually. Zach, I've got to ask though, how have you been since the show? Did it any major life updates?
I'm usually actually like pretty boring, and I usually have like nothing to say. But yeah, life's actually been really busy. I got married a few months after we filmed. The wedding was great. I've had just a few personal projects I've been working on. My life's just been really busy in general. Got to go on my honeymoon a couple months ago as well. It's been really great ever since August. Was it that long ago?
Over half a year now.
That's wild. It feels like it just happened.
Well, congrats on all of that. So excited for you and your wife, and she got that little mention sort of in that trivia question about like who's engaged to be married this fall. And all 3 of those final 3 got it right. So
yeah, my only question. Was
that the only question about me? Well, that's a pretty important thing about you, Zach.
Yeah, I guess. I mean, I'm pretty interesting. I feel like there could have been more questions.
All right, season 2. Instead of Fallen Comrades, it'll just be Fallen Zach. It'll just be questions.
Trivia. Zach. No one deserves to win Millennium Park unless they've read up on their Zach trivia.
And you know what? That'll be the immunity challenge that Jonton wins.
Yeah.
All right, we are 3 minutes into this, and we got our first Jonton mention. Let's jump into it, Zach. I've got a lot of questions. You played such an interesting game because there were the dynamics on the Hara tribe I find very fascinating, because I feel like the Tortuga tribe, like we kind of like saw like the culmination of it. Like we kind of saw how that played out on its own because they kept going to tribal. But you guys, there was just so much like I thought like shifting happening despite votes not happening. And then finally we get to day 2 and we see like the buildup of all of that. So let's just jump right into it. I would love for you to tell us a little bit about your experience with Survivor before playing Millennium Park. I was thrilled to find out you were a fan of the show, but I'd love to hear more about what you have to say about that.
Yeah, so I like everyone when Survivor first premiered was watching it. I was only like 5 or 6, so I didn't know what was going on. But I have like core memories of like scenes. Like I can remember like Richard Hatch like giving confessionals, or distinctly remember like John Carroll crying after he got voted out. These are like little things that I can just flash back to, and understanding as much as I could as a actual child watching the show. And then like a lot of people, I stopped watching, I think a bit after All Stars. And then back in college after Cagayan premiered, it was trending on Twitter and people were calling it like the best season of all time. So I watched that and fell back in love with it. And it's now sort of my it's like a I go through cycles with it, where the only show I have like watching casually or in the background will be Survivor. Every couple months I'm watching like 4 or 5 seasons back to back that I've seen before and really like, or just there's a few I still haven't seen. When on the show, whenever I like when someone asks me if I'm a super fan, and I'm like, it's mainly because like I haven't really seen every season. Like I have no interest in like watching Thailand and being bored the whole time
Yeah,
or
you
something
could
like
skip
that.
Thailand. I saw that one
Yeah.
recently.
Yeah, I have no interest in that. So I'm always like, I'm gonna say I'm a super fan, and some real super fan's gonna call me a fake super fan or something. But I'm definitely a super fan. I think I listen to like Rob has a podcast, a lot of interviews from cast members to like get their perspective on the show. It's something I really love.
That's awesome. Did you see the premiere of Survivor 42 last week?
I haven't watched 42 yet. With 41, so here's my like little take. I'll try and keep this brief, but I think like Survivor has a good core game. I think like a show like Big Brother has like a good core game, and I think that for some reason CBS really thinks that the way to make the game more interesting is to add things that take away from that core game, where at
Mm-hmm.
a certain point it isn't the same thing. And I don't mean like a little thing. Like I think in like the hidden immunity idol, the way it has become now is like a good thing because it adds to the core game without keeping it, without just completely altering it. But with
Mm-hmm.
41, I found there was a point a couple episodes in where I felt I was more I was watching a show about players navigating the twist of the game than navigating the game itself.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I also thought Xander was going to win, and he didn't, right? But I just found him completely boring, and I was convinced he was going to win at a certain point, so I just gave up. So maybe I'll rewatch it now that I know that's not the case. I'll give it another chance, and I'll give 42 a chance at some point. Yeah, this is why I'm a fake super fan. I didn't watch the most recent season.
Did you know that season 42 has a contestant named Zach on it?
Oh my god, no, I didn't even know this like as of this moment. I have
He's got an
to
H though. He's on a
then
blue team.
he's a phony then. It's weird spelling. People add like, is it Zach with like an H or a K? I'm like, it's Zach with a ZAC.
I felt really bad when I was reading the votes that voted you out, the people who put a
I knew it
name
was,
or
I
like
knew it would
I,
happen.
I just felt too because I on your pet peeves on your bio, you're like people who spell Zach wrong. And I was
No,
like,
no, no. But it's specifically like if I send you an email and it
oh,
has
I
like
see,
my
I see.
signature there and my name is there, like you can see ZAC and you respond, then you have no excuse. If someone just generally assumes that I'll forgive them. But I also misspelled like two people's names, I think, when I voted for them on my during Millennium Park. So, like
I think everybody gets that treatment in these games.
yeah.
So Zach, what were you? So obviously you knew Survivor, you understand like how it works. Like what were you anticipating coming into the game? Like did you do anything to like prepare yourself for it or anything like that?
I did watch the second season, I think, of Survivor
Oh,
Berkshires.
okay. Yeah.
I did find it because you had hidden the vid. I think they're completely hidden now. Sorry to anyone who wants to find them.
You can they're buried, but they're findable.
Yeah, they were easy to find now because you could still see the playlist. They were easy to find. Then you could still see the playlist. So I watched season 2 of Berkshires, which was actually really interesting. There was a few people I was like genuinely like enjoying watching them. Um, and I mean, it was about what I would expect from like someone who's putting together Survivor. I didn't expect you to go too crazy with twist or create your own like weird, Dylan dollars, like your take on the fire token. I think was a joke you made to me when I think I asked like, what twist can we expect, and you were like, ooh. But I didn't expect anything too crazy. I kind of got I had a general idea of what to expect from someone who's putting together their own Survivor.
Mhm. So we get to the park. It's 90 degrees. It's middle of August, and you start
Awful.
to see who the rest of your tribe is going to be. Just from like that very get go, like was there anybody who like stood out to you immediately just based on like first impressions alone?
So the great and wonderful Jonton, I remember, I can't even imagine how we got to this. He just volunteers this information, but he's talking about because he had his bag. He had his giant bag of the Taekwondo gear. And someone must have asked, and he must have said, "Oh, it's my Taekwondo gear." And then he started talking about that, and he shows us a picture of him like 5 seconds after he got completely knocked out during a match, like flat on his back, like completely red in the face. Like that was how he first presented himself. And I could see why he had been cast. He was and it just never stopped from there. There wasn't like one time thing that was like here, and we only went up from there. Like
the relationship between you and Jonton was such a highlight of getting to go back and watch the footage. I would encourage anybody who is a fan of Zac and Jonton to go back and watch carefully for moments where like you're standing beside each other in a challenge posed the same way, or like after you won the blindfold challenge and he blows you a kiss.
I don't even remember that. I knew, like, obviously I knew on some level like Jonton was like my closest ally, but I didn't know we were just this elite comedy duo. I thought I was like, I'm a serious player in a serious game, and I just happened to be working with Jonton. But no, we're all in Jonton's world.
It's Jonton's world, and we're just living in
We're just living in it.
So you guys get to the camp. There was this great moment that ended up being cut from the episode that I want to know if you remember. It's where you and Justin are looking through the bag of supplies and you find the welcome note. Do you remember that moment? Can you tell me about that?
Yeah, I remember. So obviously when you see a bag that's been handed to you by someone who's running this game of Survivor, your instinct is to look for a clue, or maybe even an idol or something. So I must not have gotten to look through it, or I was too worried about digging through it while people were looking. But I saw Justin look at it, and he looked at it, and then he like moved it and like put it on the ground and started really digging through it. And I peeked over while people were like casually talking about whatever, and I saw there was a note of some kind. And I said at some volume, I don't know if the other people heard me, but he should have at least been able to hear me. I said, just pocket it. No. And he stands up and he reads it. It's just an intro letter, which is probably why. I'm pretty sure he took a sec to read it and then stood up to read it for everyone. So maybe if it was an idle clue, but I do remember that. And I remember being like, pocket the note. What are you doing? Mm-hmm. What are you here for? Who are you? Who do you think you are? Have you played this before?
At that point, you're like, this Justin guy must not know Survivor.
Yeah, one of us knew what they were doing.
So you guys are sitting around, you're sort of like bonding as a team, and you go to that first challenge. How is the decision made that you would be the one to be the puzzle solver for that?
So an important moment, I think, apart from the general bonding, what for me set the tone was we each, I forget if I was the one who initiated the conversation, but we each said like, what's something we think we'd be good at? So the answer was like puzzles or running or something physical. Justin said he'd be really good at throwing things. He's got really good aim. Which should have been maybe a tip off, because like what a weird thing to say if you haven't played like what do you just play a lot? Actually, I do think he is a part of a team for
softball.
I think he's
on maybe he does both.
I think he's on a cornhole team or something, or just like a hobby or something like that. So I guess he actually would have an excuse. But yeah, we said everything. And I remember Karen said something like math or something like that. Kim did not, despite being a math tutor, right?
She's a math teacher. Yeah.
And just throwing that out there. I'm an English major, just throwing that out there too. To provide context, I think is very much needed. So Karen, who was a banker, throwing that out, she said she was good at math. So it's like, okay. And I said puzzles or something. Because I really didn't want to have to run, because like the worst thing for me would be like I run just like incredibly slowly compared to everyone else and get lapped twice. That is like my nightmare scenario for what this would have been.
You wouldn't have tried to do a barrel roll like Jonton?
I would have had to do something like that to distract from how slow I would have been running. I would have had to get people's minds.
Like jumping in the air.
I would have had to or like tripped so that I hadn't and injured my leg. We get up there and you say it's like a math logic puzzle or something. Karen kind of hems and haws about doing it. Me just in general as a person, and it's something I knew would translate as a player. I didn't want anyone to be in a position they weren't fully comfortable being in. So I figured I could do okay at a logic puzzle. I knew it wouldn't be just some complex equation. So I figured I might as well try it. So I was willing to step up. Looking back, being in that position, it's very easy, I think, to have what Karen felt and think, don't step up, because if you mess up, your tribe is mad at you. But it's actually kind of the opposite, I think, at least for Hara. Maybe if I'm on Tortuga and I do what I did with messing up the puzzle, I'm the first one voted off. That's quite possible with Tortuga. But with Hara, I think they were grateful that someone was willing to say, hey, I'll do this. But yeah, that was the position, is really getting down to it. No one wanted to step up to do it, despite there being several better candidates than me,
including a math teacher. I thought the math teacher and then Tony, the math student, were going to step up to do it. I was not expecting anyone else to, but hey, savvy gameplay, I guess. So the first challenge didn't go amazingly. I'm willing to say that the puzzle was poorly built. I'm willing to say that on the record.
What gets me about the puzzle is that everyone saw that I had it upside down besides me. Not just like on the production who knew, but like, I don't think you said like, hey, it's this number. Like, you didn't say there isn't a 9, but everyone looked at that and said, well, that's 6 upside down. That's not a, they're the same number upside down. Why was I the only bozo who couldn't see it? I don't understand. That's what gets me.
So what was going through your head? Not only do you lose the puzzle, but then right then and there I say, and we're going to tribal council, no talking, like we're just going to shuffle you guys down there and get this vote done. Like, what are you thinking at that point?
Horrendous panic. Just because like that's like the worst. Like you're the only one who steps up and then you get voted out. Everyone was good with the rule of not talking until we got the tribal. I didn't like grab anyone and pull them aside before we got the tribal, but it was a long walk down that very long hill, then through the woods, and then back through the woods to get to the tribal area. But like I think Karen gave me a thumbs up, and then like I think Justin gave me like a you're good kind of head nod or something. But I was very nervous, like walking into tribal itself.
Zach, I'll tell you, I was terrified for you. I was like, I can't let this huge Survivor fan who stepped up. I was like, I can't believe that this is how this is going to shake out.
Yeah, man. And I would have been a good sport about it. I would have been pretty distraught if it would have been bad.
We would have brought the outcast twist in for you.
Yeah, you would have had to or something. I would have sued. It would have been emotional damage. Like
it would have been like Survivor Borneo. It'd be like, hey, like this is production's fault. Like I did nothing wrong. That was a poorly designed puzzle piece. So you ultimately do get saved. Your tribe has glowing things to say about you at tribal council, and you survive the vote. And it's not like nobody targets you at all. It's not close. You go back to camp. How are you feeling about the tribe at that point? Did you feel like, so it's 6 of you left, Drew's just left. Do you feel like alliances are forming, or like even relationships are forming?
So for me personally, it was a very quick 180 where I went from very terrified to like in the span of 5 minutes after seeing the vote, like freaking amazing. I'm doing great. No one voted for me. This is like, obviously I'm doing something right. Prior to, I'm trying to think of the time period before that. That would have been, I think, when Tom like disappeared.
Yeah, I was about to ask you about that.
Yeah, I think that was before we went to the second challenge. So something with Hara that I don't think really came across is probably because there was only a short amount of time where the idol was out there, but everyone was kind of like openly looking for the idol.
Oh, really?
Yeah, so we would kind of like, when we finally got back, we decided to like explore the little path we had a bit. And like you'd be in like groups of 2 or 3 people, and everyone would just kind of together, you'd just be like craning your necks all over looking to see an idol. Like, is that something, like you'd be talking with other people about how you were looking to see where the idol might be. No, I don't think there were any strong groups at that time. I think the only thing that really stood out was Tom disappearing, and I think Kim was like really put off by that, because I
Oh yeah.
remember come the vote I did have to vouch for Tom.
Mm.
She wasn't like wanting to get him out, but I vaguely remember she either brought it up as a concern or at least just threw the name out to talk about it, and I did have to, because Tom's one of the people I like openly look for an idol with, and I had a feeling he might tell me about it, and he ended up did. But no, I don't think like lines in the sand really drew at that point.
Do you have any memory of when Tom returned from finding the idol? Because you guys, I know that I've got like footage and I cut it because like I didn't really get like a good shot of him saying anything, but like you guys are standing together and he like kind of just comes back. Do you remember he had like an excuse or anything?
He might have said just the go. He was giving a confessional or something. I don't remember if he said anything that's like funny in hindsight though.
Oh, okay.
Maybe he
Okay.
did. He is the type to say
He,
something
I'm sure he would have
very
come up with
silly.
something
Yeah.
interesting. So you guys end up losing the second challenge, and that's where you actually kind of kick off the strategy that I think defines a really stark difference between Hara and Tortuga when you say out loud, so I'm going to walk over there, and anyone who wants to come with, and the person who comes with you is Jonton. Would you,
Yeah.
is that sort of like when that alliance started to take off?
Yeah, I guess it must have been, for me, coming in as like a huge fan of this game, both as a person who's playing it and it's just someone having fun for the weekend. I didn't want it to be like we all just stand around and guess someone's name, going into tribal council. So that's why I sort of initiated and hoped people would follow, and they thankfully did. I don't think I could have pulled that on Tortuga without no one following me and me just standing off to the side while 6 people agree to vote me out. But yeah, that was my first like strategy talk with Jonton. And to be honest, like his was like a name I was considering at the time. Um, because I forget the exact people who blew the puzzle, but I know like after Justin had went, we had very clearly said like any like fan who's seen that challenge a
Yeah.
bunch of times on the show knows you throw it up in the air so that's got hang time, and then you try and smack the other person's thing down right away. And both Jonton and Karen hadn't done that. Probably someone else. I mean, honestly, Kim might not have done that, but she's Kim, so she gets away with that. Yeah.
Kim was in charge of the tribe at that point, I imagine.
Yeah, basically. But yeah, my first real talk with Jonton was that, and he said Karen, and I agreed, and I wasn't necessarily like locked into that, but for me, it was between Karen and Jonton as the potential options. Speaking to him, and then it sort of becomes a scramble. Not as mad as like the merge vote got, for example, but there was a lot of talk in that short period of time. I think it was, I want to say Kim was the one who pushed more for Karen. Her big reasoning, which I agreed with and then started pushing, I think that's how it went, was that if there's a swap or anything, we're likely going to be down in numbers going into a swap, because if it was to happen, it'd be kind of early on. And Jonton is just this huge target. It's very easy if there's a swap and we're on the lower side of the numbers to say, dude, Jonton's crazy. I've already had to deal with him all morning. Just vote him out. Don't vote me. And that was something I agreed with. So I had jumped on with that reasoning, which meant then the vote kind of falls on to Karen as a result of that. And I wasn't going to fight for Karen, even though I liked Karen a lot and I would have liked to work with her. To be honest, I was a little, annoyed about having to step up for the first challenge after she had said she was kind of like a math person. And I think genuinely, if she does step up for that first challenge, I know at the very least I'm pushing to keep Karen, because I have no reason to be annoyed at her, and I, have a reason to respect her a bit more in terms of like the actual game. She's a great person, of course.
She only spoke up on your behalf at tribal council.
I know. What a scumbag I am. But and I know Justin wanted to keep Karen too.
Right.
So, but I think the numbers just ended up falling a certain way.
Do you remember during this round, Tom tells you guys about the idol?
Yeah, so I think the sequence of events is so muddled, but it must have been something like Kim at one point saw the idol in his pocket, because it's relatively sizable. You could tell it's
It's
there.
like a coaster, yeah.
Yeah. So she saw it and she said something to me. At some point, I asked him about it. He was honest with me. He told me he found the idol. There was actually, I don't think it was on camera, but I asked him like, can you he didn't want to show me the idol. I was like, just show me like the scrap of paper. No, he did want to show me the idol. I was like, show me the scrap of paper, because that's the real proof. Someone can like do a Tony and bring an idol here and say it's an idol to protect yourself. But the real thing is if you got the paper saying this is you found an immunity idol. He put it in a tree like way far into the
He
woods.
re-hit it with a pine cone in there.
Is that what he did? He read a pine cone. That's so amazing. But yeah, so he was like, yeah, okay. And he starts taking me like way farther back into the camp than we had been. I was like, okay, I believe you. I believe you. They're gonna get suspicious. This is too far. But he told me that he had the idol, so I was like, good. We're down with the numbers this time, so I want to be allied with the person with the idol, so I can hopefully influence. If there's a swap or a merge and we're down in the numbers, I can have influence over where the idol gets played. So I vouch for Tom, and he does, I believe, come clean about the idol to at least Kim and Justin. I don't know if it was during that vote or later, but that eventually happens. And it's over that the course of that vote that we form this four of myself, Tom, Kim, and Justin.
Right. So Karen gets voted out. You guys go to your third challenge, and miraculously, you win. And you are the one that leads them to victory.
Mm-hmm.
How did that feel when you won that blindfold puzzle challenge?
It felt genuinely amazing. I didn't think I could get so excited about like the challenge aspect, because like I'm like the guy who's like, yeah, the challenges, the survival, whatever. Like I'm there for the game. But that was really just like such elation. That was something too. Like I knew going in, like being like a director and a shot caller in that type of position, I knew that's something I would do well in, and I was hoping something like that would come up. So I was ready to step up for it, and we crushed it all on our own. I hear the other side was really great too, but I just destroyed them. No assist from people performing questionably on the other side.
So you win that challenge. Your team doesn't have to go to another tribal council the rest of the day. Do you feel like, with sort of like you guys kind of have downtime at that point, do you feel like relationships are forming? Is there like a hierarchy forming? Is there like a leader emerging on the team? Maybe like a person who's like on the bottom is starting to become obvious. Anything like that during the downtime?
It does become clear as a sort of residual from the first two votes, and the vote where Jonton was on the table in the second tribal, that Jonton was on the bottom. I was trying to get like a firmer footing than I had during this time. And I think a lot of what will define my post merge game is the fact that I didn't really have like a number one like ally. I definitely had Jonton. I knew I had Jonton as someone who would be loyal with me and vote with me. And I liked him a lot as a person, but like for me, I wanted like a partner who like I could talk one-on-one strategy, and they could like I could throw out stuff to them and they could throw out stuff back to me, and we could bounce ideas off of each other. And I didn't really have that. I think I kind of wanted it ideally with Kim, but obviously we'll get into it. I never had a strong inkling on where Kim's loyalty did lie, but I did have a sense that I wasn't her top priority, just from like little conversations here and there. And that's of course gonna influence things as they will come.
So what did you think when Jonton started punching a tree?
It really like I genuinely was like, we're here. This is a moment. This is like a thing, like people like show the people like, look how weird this is. This happened on camera in real life. This person. And the thing, like, I hope there is not a single person watching this or who has watched Millennium Park who thinks Jonton is putting on an act in the slightest. He certainly turned he turned the dial up to 11, but Jonton is sincerely Jonton. You can tell. And I'll say this, sitting in the 90-degree heat, covered in like layers of dirt and bug spray and sunscreen and dirt and bug spray and sunscreen, it's really nice to have a Jonton there, rather than, I think he says it during his interview, we're just talking about like where we went to college and stuff. There's only so long you can talk about that before you go insane. He really broke up the monotony. It was really something. I was glad I was there to see it.
And your commentary on it, it's again that comedy duo. Like, it's one thing for Jonton to punch a tree, it's another for you to say, we're not going to get any airtime as long as he's...
I just couldn't see how you could resist. Good on you for not making this the Jonton show, more than it just naturally was, of course. Good on you for not just including us in his amazing story.
I mean, there's the great line of, he says, in Thailand, they punch down banana trees, and you say, oh, I think I've heard that.
I wanted to talk about this. I really had heard of that. I've heard of people like kicking down trees. Like, I couldn't have told you like, oh, it's in Thailand, but like, I've heard of people. That's like did he make that up? That's a thing, right?
No, he made me Google it after the show, and he's right. It's just the way you said it. Like, oh yeah, I think I've heard of that. Yeah.
It was 90 degrees and I had to go up the hill 20 times in a day. I was tired, Dylan. I was really tired, but yeah, I'm thank God, I really had heard of that before, that people can like kick down trees for.
So you guys spend the rest of the day like not much to do, because you're winning challenges. You guys win the beanbag challenge, you guys win the puzzle challenge. I don't know if you have anything to share about either of those challenges.
No, both were pretty straightforward. The beanbag one, Justin had said that he was like good at stuff like that. And I mean, he was certainly better than literally every other person in the game was at it. And then the puzzle one, we did well in the puzzle. I think the other tribe did good too. I think it was like, I don't know if it was close or like they were at least,
It was pretty close, actually.
Yeah. So yeah, but they were pretty straightforward. No major behind the scenes stuff there. I think something that is weird, like just a perspective thing, is like when you're as a tribe going to tribal, it feels like there's not enough time. And then when we're sitting there while the other tribe's going to tribal, it felt like they got like 5 times as much time as we did. And we were like complaining about it. It sincerely felt like they got 20 years to vote and we had gotten like 5 minutes. Mm-hmm. That's just how it felt, because the game moves so quickly.
That's right.
I'm gonna say it's that. I'm gonna.
Yeah, that's right. Time isn't relative; it's objective.
Yeah.
It actually, I didn't think of this before, but I'm kind of curious if during that puzzle, I guess there's something kind of interesting. There's a lot of talk on your team of like, why are they only sending 3 of us? Like, is this a swap? Like, what's going on here? And then you guys get there, and I thought that there was like a very stark contrast in the 3 from Hara and the 3 from Tortuga and like general attitudes. Like the red team is like singing and like joking about ice cream, and you guys, like, there's a great shot where like Emma says like, what if we lied to them? And like your team is like,
I didn't know.
I'm just wondering if like those exchanges, like if you were able to get like impressions of the other team during the day.
I could kind of tell they were, I mean, look, Hara had fun in a competitive, here for the game side of things kind of way. And Tortuga was having like fun in like normal people who are just, doing this fun thing for a weekend. And Hara was like, we could have been on the island, most of us. We were taking it that seriously. I know I was personally like, I couldn't have too much fun. I was terrified there was going to be a swap, or the 6 of us were going to go to tribal and it'll be 3 versus 3 or something, or some type of crazy thing. It was also an important vote because we figured that with the way the numbers were, there had to be a merge coming incredibly quickly if the merge wasn't at that vote. So it was, a little high pressure. in terms of making sure we won that. But yeah, I definitely got the sense they were having a grand old time. Yeah.
Wrapping up day one, you guys have this long conversation trying to like plan out like who are we targeting from the other team. You don't know for certain that you're merging first thing, but you do know you're going up in numbers into day two. And you're talking about like, do we vote Emma? Do we vote Tony? Like what was the plan for you? What was like your ideal outcome for the start of day two at the end of day one?
Yeah, we had a lot of extensive talks about what merge scenarios were. We had even talked a little bit about like if we did lose the 5 versus 5 challenge, the fire puzzle. We'd even talked a little bit about like what we would do in terms of trying to get the numbers on our side. But knowing we were likely going into with the numbers into the merge, we had talked a lot about like, I think Tony was the main target for us because he just naturally seemed like an athletic guy. It's interesting, and it's something I've realized. This is probably a result of the game being so quick, but it only takes like little things for like a huge impression to be put upon you. With Tony, I think it's mainly just like he was the first runner for the first challenge, and he was fast when he ran, and he naturally just kind of looks like a guy who probably plays sports. That whole
he's like 6.5 feet
yeah,
tall.
Yeah, the whole perception is quickly built like he's someone who's probably really good at the challenges. But I can't remember too closely if we definitively decided on one of the 4 of them that we would vote out. I think it might have been Emma. Here's a weird one. So for whatever reason, my tribe mates, like, it's probably me. I'm probably the person who's lacking in something. But after Tortuga lost the first challenge they lost, my tribe was like, oh, John's probably getting voted out. I was like, why? And they were like, oh, you can just tell like the groupings that they're standing in or something. I was like, okay. And then John gets voted out. And then the second thing, they were like, oh yeah, it's Sarah. And I was like, okay. And then it's Sarah. And then for the third one, they're like, it's Wu, and Wu gets voted out. And it's like, so these people clearly are picking up on something I'm not picking up. So someone probably said at someone like, oh, it seems like Emma's the leader or something like that. And I was like, sure, if you say so, with whatever knowledge you have that I'm not seeing here. But yeah, I do think that Emma's the leader narrative was there even on day one when there was literally no reason for it to be there, but somehow it was. I don't know. It's me. I'm clearly just can't pick up on something these other people can because they were right about everything.
So we actually got a few confessionals from you, I think right at the end of day one, talking about like sort of like, here's your wrap up, talking about like, I don't want to play a pick off the other people type game. Like, were you already thinking at the end of day one that there was going to be a move made against Kim early in day two?
Not specifically against him, but I did know I did want to make some type of move. My reasoning, the biggest thing for me is that it's largely an introspective thing, but I look at the other tribe and I see what reason do these people have to vote for me if I get to the end through a normal game of we vote them all out and then I get a 3 out of the 5 and then I win the last challenge or something. What reason does the other tribe have to vote for me? And I couldn't really see one. Not only that, but I knew that if I were to initiate a move, I could likely put myself in a power position on my tribe while also making myself stand up to the people who don't have as much experience for me. So I knew, and it's something I thought about a lot over the course of like the end of day one till day two started, like, who do I want to make a move? And I didn't come in decided into day two. I knew that I would likely want to like get through the first vote and then try and vote off someone from Hara. Because I think if you can establish yourself in a power position, it's good for the numbers to be as tight as possible. Because then it's less likely that like someone else comes along and makes a move against you because you are in a power position. But if you can grab that power position early on and lock it in around yourself, ideally you can keep the numbers so tight that other people can't afford to make moves. That was my thought. we'll get into
Yeah, we're gonna
we'll get into my theory on like keeping the numbers so tight it would be dumb to make a move against me later on, but I was pretty locked in. I was going to make some type of move probably after the first vote, after the merge, if everything went according to plan.
I do want to ask before we get into the merge stuff. You mentioned that your team talked about if you had lost the fire puzzle. I assume Jonton gets voted out that round because he's not in that core 4 for you guys. And that you were talking about like, who do we pull in from the other side? Can you tell me a little bit about what you guys were thinking at that point had you lost the fire puzzle?
I don't know if we ever strongly got into specifics. I know what I had in my mind and also like what would have probably made sense. But my mind was you vote out Jonton, even though I personally was close to Jonton. It's the opposite when you're going into the merge without the numbers. You want to be as tight as possible with everyone. You don't want anyone who's kind of a straggler because you need to stick together and do what you can if you don't have the numbers going into the merge. So what I probably would have pushed for, and I think was at least thrown out a little bit, was Kim suggesting to the other tribe that there's an all boys alliance.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
I probably would have told her like, oh, say you played an idol and voted out Jonton or something. And then Kim would have figured out who the vote was going on, and Tom would have played the idol for that person. That's where my mind was. I don't think it ever got to that point in like planning. I think at least the Kim saying the all boys alliance thing was thrown out there.
That's right.
But I don't think it ever got to like the step A, step B, step C.
Got it.
I had it in my mind though, and I probably would have, if we go in that situation down the numbers and we didn't idle play, I probably say like I probably do everything I can to look like an asshole and get the votes onto me so that I can get the idle played on me, so like I can at least survive the first vote. And that would make me stand out too, haha, I tricked you. I'm actually a really nice guy,
Zach, you cussed all of us out all morning.
No, nothing like that. I just I don't know, maybe I like steal Jonton's gear as he's getting voted out, and then like going into the merge, I'm the one punching trees. I could just like
Wait, you think you could vote out Jonton and that you could say, by the way, can I have your stuff overnight?
100%. I definitely
what
think
kind of Angelina Survivor David versus Goliath? Jonton, is there any way that I can have your martial arts equipment?
Yeah, there's a half a chance he like forgets it there. Like, let's be realistic. He could have gotten distracted by something. Yeah, or maybe I don't know. I could have done a bunch of things. I could have talked about like NFTs and cryptocurrency a bunch to like just annoy everyone.
Were those a thing during that? I guess
I think NFTs were a thing like back in August 2021.
Somebody make a Survivor
cryptocurrency was. NFT. Yeah, that's what I would have been like, yeah, I'm trying to convince Dylan to make a Millennium Park NFT. Hey, you hear about cryptocurrency? Just anything to get the votes onto me if we're down to the votes.
If you're
down, I didn't need to do that. Thank you.
But you didn't need to turn into like a crypto bro about it.
Yeah, whatever I could have done.
maybe if you're back in a future season, we'll see crypto bros at.
I've given up my strategy. No. How will I convince people I'm an asshole now? Oh no.
All right, guys. Zach's actually pretty pleasant in real life. Surprise. So you make it to the merge. Every Survivor fan's dream. We do the challenge. You guys go back to camp. And your team, I think where you guys landed in the morning was that you were going to plan to vote Emma, but say you were voting Tony. Do you remember how that decision was made?
I think it was because they had their like, magical perception and somehow actually determined Emma was the leader of the tribe. So we wanted to take out Emma. We also, something even I was able to pick up, and clearly I'm not too observant, was that Jean and Emma seemed like a pairing. Now they've both said, like, I think Emma said in an interview and Jean said when I was just talking to her on the jury, that they didn't see themselves as a pairing. But like genuinely, like I never, in the course of the merge at the very least, they were always standing next to each other. And that just might be a thing. Like, I don't think either of them were really big fans of the show coming in. So like, you don't think of something like that. But in the game, especially a fast-paced miniature version of Survivor, like the little things turn into big things.
Right. So after your team talks, Tony comes to you and he pleads his case and he gives you this pitch about, I don't know anybody here. Like, I'm on my own. Like, my team's not even strategizing. Like, and you had a great line, like, go tell, like, you give him instructions on how to integrate into your team. Were you legitimately persuaded by him at all?
Yeah, Tony actually, I give so much credit to Tony. He played such a great game for someone who's on a tribe that's down in the numbers and is not super unified. He did exactly what he needed to do. He said to me what I needed to hear as someone who already had in mind this coming vote, that I would probably going to make some type of move and would need loose numbers here or there to put it together. He said exactly what I needed, to be like, I want to keep this guy around. I had a good read on him. I could tell he was genuine in wanting to just survive and wasn't going to be super locked in with his tribe, which ends up being accurate. So yeah, he definitely convinced me. He said what he needed to say.
I know that after, I'm going to skip ahead slightly and then we'll get back to this round, but you mentioned after Jean was voted out that you really would have liked working with her. Do you remember like what made you feel that way, that she would have been somebody you could work with?
So I had a conversation. It doesn't end up getting shown on the show, where I pulled Jean away from Jean and Emma.
Right.
And she gave me very similar what Tony gave me, which is like, I think I asked her explicitly, hey, if I tell you a name and don't super elaborate on why, are you down to vote that way? And she was like, yeah, totally, whatever. And she just like, I can't point to one thing, but like Jean, like, she just has, you get good vibes from Jean. She's super agreeable. She's someone like, I got the sense like she could be someone I could work with long term and like bounce ideas off of. And that in particular with Jean, like as someone who really wanted that like number two, that partner kind of person, I really saw that could be a potential in Jean to work long term. I don't think I like want to go to the end with Jean because I'm not stupid and I want to like win, and Jean is awesome. I could tell even just from the short conversations I had. Yeah, I really felt like Jean could be a part of my long-term plans. And a big thing that influences my like desire to really like go ahead with this vote in the following round is my frustration that Jean gets voted off in a situation that I'm sure we're gonna get right back into, but it doesn't need to happen the way it happens.
Right.
Yeah.
I'm kind of amused that you say like you just got good vibes from Jean immediately, because in a lot of the early drafts of like pairing teams together, like I had you two together on a team for a lot of like the earlier drafts, because like that would be, I feel like those two would hit it off.
Oh, we would have run the game. How could you do this?
I could actually see you two.
Another one in the long list of ways I was screwed this season. He said, Zach will probably win if we do this. Can't be done. We're gonna put him on the tribe with Jonton, with the guy who's won this game before. This is the guy who finds idols in like 5 minutes. This is a much better team for Zach. This is the team
I wanted you to have an uphill battle. It's no fun if you just steamroll everyone.
That's great fun, Dylan. I don't know what you're talking about. It's amazing. You've never like just played a fighting game with someone and like destroyed and got a perfect and they never hit you. It's awesome. It feels amazing. What are you talking about?
Oh my God. So at one point, going back to before the Jean vote happens, there is a conversation with all 5 horror members plus Tony. I believe this conversation happens right after the iconic deleted scene that I think I'll try to put on Instagram before this goes up, of Jonton shoving you into the bushes and saying age before puberty.
No, that sounds like he's shoving me down the hill. Jonton, he didn't shove me. Maybe he shoved me. We hit each other a lot that season.
Yeah, you two hit each other a lot.
Yeah. I don't know. I didn't know. I definitely didn't remember that. But yeah, he suggested I walk down this hill that was not meant to be walked down before he did. Yes, that did happen.
I'm gonna put that one on Instagram because that's my favorite deleted scene. It killed me not to include that. But anyway, the 5 of you are talking. Tony is talking with you. I think at that point, you're laying out to him the plan to vote out Emma, I believe.
Yep.
Was Tony, do you remember this conversation? Was Tony really integrated with you guys at that point? He'd followed your instructions of talking to people. Did you feel like he was part of was there a 6 now?
I was sincerely, I was fully convinced, and I think it is accurate, at least from what I've seen and like talking to a few people, that Tony was like completely gone from Tortuga, or the very least was willing to vote out one of, Gene or Emma, and didn't have a problem with us saying, hey, vote out Emma. I didn't get a sense he was going to relay the information back to them. I didn't get a sense he was hesitant or distraught over doing it. I think he felt sincerely happy that we were not going to vote for him. We were going to try and keep him in the game for longer. And I think I could tell, at least from everything I at that time, and it seems to have been accurate, that he was fully with the Hara at that time.
I think he even says in that conversation, which again, totally deleted scene, but I think he says to you guys, like, I just want to like survive a few votes and then maybe go on an immunity run. But like, how would that ever happen?
Yeah. How's that going to happen? It's funny because of course we went in the day before, we were like, Tony's the immunity. And just as quickly as that perception got there, he like doesn't win the one-on-one, the first individual immunity, and the perception like completely disappears. Like, it's so funny, like how fat just like one thing like completely changes how we see people. It's yeah.
That was very interesting to see you guys get back to camp and you're like, oh, so I guess he's not a threat. Like, this is fine.
Yeah, a complete 180. We were not worried at all, and I guess we should have been.
Maybe. Well, you didn't have to
they
worry.
should have been. Yeah,
the rest of them should have worried.
Yeah. I was holding him back. He was intimidated, obviously. Once I was gone, he was like, all right, now I can
coming off.
Now I can play.
So before we get to the vote, Tom and Justin are having a conversation, and they're worried that Emma might have an idol, and that maybe, she's going up to people and she's saying, don't vote for Tony. And then you guys say, who should we vote for? And she says, just don't vote for Tony, as if to say, vote for me because I have an idol. Do you is that, am I reading that right? Is that why people thought she had an idol?
So one thing I want to add on this that is fun. So I have my conversation that you do see on the show with Gene and Emma, and I'm like, yes. Oh yeah, we're voting for Tony. Yeah, it's totally Tony. And then I'm like, okay, I'm gonna walk over here. And then I walked. You can't get a perception on camera. I walked 5 feet, and I was talking. And you could stitch the frames together and have me just walk right over. It was that close to where they were. But I talked to them, and Justin's like, what's the plan? And I'm like, oh yeah, it's Emma. And Tom says it. Tom says, Tom, like, when he says, I think this person has an idol, I don't know why. Maybe it's because he doesn't talk like a lot of like game stuff. But like, you just completely believe it. He does it the following round. He says Andrew probably has an idol.
That's right, yeah.
And we don't question it. We just completely believe him. Like, it must be true because he's like the idol shaman. He can like find them like in a, yeah. But so yeah, he says Emma probably has an idol, and my mind skips a couple steps and goes, oh God, Emma has an idol. What do we do? So we discussed the plan of the 3 of us right there. We just vote for Gene. That's a split vote, 3-3-3. Whatever Andrew, Emma, and Gene do, it doesn't matter. It'll tie. And on the revote, we can vote out Emma or vote out Gene if there was an idol played. But I think me and probably Justin too were worried about just doing that without saying it to Jonton and Kim, because that's a pretty big move to make without giving people a heads up. So we finally get together as the 5 of us. Like, someone probably says 1 minute till tribal, and we're able to get together as the 5 of us. And I throw out, all right, why don't we split the votes? We can do me, Justin, Tom on Gene, and then Jonton, Kim, and Tony on Emma. And there was some hesitancy because people weren't sure about Tony. And this is another thing that's going to lead into me being so certain about wanting to do a move next round, is that I knew, I was certain, I was convinced, and I think I was right, that Tony was on our side. He was not relaying the info to them. And we didn't have to worry about him flipping and it being like 4-3-2 or something like that. Right. We could split the votes the way that was planned there, and it would have been fine. It would have been the safe move. As a player, I'm always like, what is the safest move that we can do possible that gets us the best result possible? That's just something like in my core. I want to do the thing that's safest and maximizes the best potential. And there was just hesitancy, and then someone probably says like, we're going to tribal now. And Tony walks up and he's like, "We're still voting for Emma." Or I think he announces himself or something. He's like,
He was always announcing himself.
he
Yeah.
was very good about making clear he wasn't eavesdropping. He's like, "We're still voting for Emma." And I'll detail what happens from my perspective as calamity ensues, as the great disaster of Survivor Millennium Park occurs before all of our eyes. So I say to Tony, yes, we're gonna vote out Emma. We just need to talk as a group. And he says, fine. And I swear to God, Tony walked away. In my eyes, I see him go up the little hill and down the little hill, and Tony isn't there. I can remember that in my mind's eyes. Tony was gone. And I turn and I say, okay, he's voting Emma, Jean. Tony's head appears through a wormhole in space or something. He teleports back. He pokes his head through Jonton and Kim's shoulders and goes, "So I'm voting Emma." And I'm like, yeah. He walks away. Justin or someone says, "Oh, you shouldn't have told him that." Yeah, well, it's fine. I didn't have time to say, actually, it's fine. I've got a really good read on Tony, and I really trust him. I just had to say, and then someone says, Gene. And we probably, like me, Kim, and Justin probably all said it at once, like, Gene.
Mm-hmm.
So we all go and we vote out Gene because Tony knew the vote was split, and they had even more reason to think that an idol might get played or something like that, or he could flip back to them, and it's just an absolute disaster. And there's probably someone who thinks like, oh, does Zach regret the trying to go for the Kim vote? And I don't sincerely, and we'll get into that. My mess up, I feel, is not keeping one eye on Tony and making sure he had actually gone across the clearing.
You know what, Zach, based on the footage I saw, that is a pretty accurate recollection of how that went down. Is he was right there. You're like, all right, we're all voting Emma. He steps away and almost immediately turns back and hears that you guys are splitting the vote, and he says, "So I'm voting Emma." I think this might be fan fiction. I think you say you weren't supposed to hear that.
I think I did say that.
Maybe you
definitely did. No, I remember either me or someone else said it. But it feels like something I would say. In a moment when I panic, I make jokes. I say the most deadpan, humorous. I don't even make jokes. I just say something that when you look back, it's funny.
You weren't supposed to hear that.
Yeah.
So I wish I could have released an hour-long cut of the merge episode, because what a crazy round that in the end Gene gets voted out just because somebody else overheard something about a totally different player entirely. Yeah. Like just by total happenstance. So Gene gets voted out.
What a shame.
Robbed. What'd you say?
Gene was robbed.
Gene was robbed. Gene was robbed. I'll die on that hill. So now we get to talk about your favorite round. This is I would argue, an iconic boot episode. I really feel like this is, and I hope maybe you don't feel the same way, but I feel like as a Survivor fan, this is what I want when I watch the show, is like an epic rise and an epic fall.
Yeah, for me, now's probably the best time to say it is I came into the game with two goals, which was to win and to have fun. And if I could only have one, I wanted to have fun. I would rather lose early on or in a blind side, whatever, but have like played the game and had fun while doing it, and like done things that made sense to me. If I had like, let's go to the alternate universe, and I don't try and vote out Kim or vote out anyone on hard on that vote. And I play down to her final five, and I flip and I convince Tom to vote with me and Jonton, and I make it to the end. And that's pretty boring. I don't have as much fun, even if I win in that scenario, because that just isn't interesting to me just as a person.
There's also a chance in that universe, like Jonton's out fifth and you're out fourth, and then it's like, absolutely. Okay, great. I marched myself to my own death.
And losing and not having fun is the worst possible scenario, of course. But for me, it's naturally as a person, I like to think long term. Yeah. And when you play a social game like this, you have to let who you are as a player be an extension of who you are as a person. And me as a person is going to think long term and step by step by step how I get to the best result possible. And I saw this as a step to doing it. And it was a failed step that didn't get me there, but I felt better trying to go along that path and having fun doing it than I did with any potential alternative. Yeah.
Zach, I'll tell you, from the production side, the rest of the team was so mad at me that I was going to let the Haras just steamroll the Tortugas. And I was like, guys, if that's how it plays out, that's how it plays out. But no part of me thinks that those 5 are going to, it's like someone's, I put 5 antsy Survivor fans on a team together. I guess Tom's not a fan, but like 5 people who like are going to want to play the game.
Yeah.
Someone's going to do something. And I am so glad that you did, Zach, because that episode is, if there was like an award ceremony for like these types of games, I would submit that, because everything from the fact that like you win the challenge and you say, I'm gonna go crazy.
It made total sense. I not only do I think of like how to get my best case scenario, but I think of the steps for like, what if something goes wrong? And I, plan for any possible scenario. And there's nothing realistically that could possibly I can recover if
I think
you
famously said to me, like either right after or like we talked like a couple weeks later, you're like, there's no way he would skip the final 7. 7 is such an important number in these games. He would never skip that route.
There's so many iconic final 7 votes. Like how I guess this one was too, in a wild way. But yeah, I because genuinely, you bring it up, I did know from watching Survivor Berkshire season 2 that you being like, we're going right to another tribal could be a thing, and it was something I had in my mind. I didn't, consider what it might be right there at the worst possible time. But it's not like this was a shock to me. It's not like I couldn't have planned for this. So maybe that's on me. Maybe it's on you. Who can say?
Oh my god. So let's talk through this. And there's a lot to go through here. So I'm gonna go. I have a lot of questions, but like they're all kind of related. So like maybe we'll answer some of them and others. There's a clip that I personally love where you, Tom, and Kim are talking, and you say, I'm good with this. I like this. And we cut to you in confessional saying, that's an awful final 3 for me. Why did you think that wouldn't have been a good plan for you?
I think from my perspective, I definitely had a read that Kim, I wasn't Kim's number 1 priority, which is true. Justin was her number 1 priority. That I couldn't have a read on. Justin, we can talk about him as a winner, but the biggest thing for me that I respect with Justin is that he was very difficult to read where he was. In terms of, you knew he was there, you knew his head was in the game, but I didn't have a good sense of where Justin's loyalties were. I really just kind of saw him as a person in this game who wants to win. And so my perception was Kim was setting her up in a final 3 like that, so that she could get to the end with Tom. And my perception was, if I go to the final 3, me, Tom, Kim, I have to win individual immunity. And like, I'm sure from Kim's perspective, she thinks there's a chance I take her anyway. I did have great conversations with Kim about game. She was one of the people like I really could talk strategy with. But if she had been able to trick me or something like that to make me think I was her number 1, I never try to make a move against Kim. But it's like I say in the show, I got to a point where I realized that if I was sitting at home watching the show, not as a player, I would be rooting for Kim to win. And I realized, like, in the game, I'm going to want Kim to win. Maybe if I'm at final 3 and I win individual immunity, I take her anyway because it's Kim and she's awesome and I respect her a lot. And I knew that it would be better when there were more numbers available to make a move against Kim. To also, she is pretty much the linchpin of the tribe at that time, put myself in that power position she was in. And hopefully, I'm the new Kim, and I'm awesome. And
we all want to be Kim.
Yeah, but that's where a lot of the thinking was for why I had to make that move at that specific time, and against specifically Kim.
Right.
It really was just a move out of respect and trying to figure out a way to better my position in the game.
Right.
But yeah, I definitely didn't think me, Thomas, her was good for me in any situation. And I didn't know what my alternative was. I obviously have that conversation where it's me, Tom, and Jonton. And I say to them, like, hey, do we want to ride this out? Are you two open? Because I'm trying to lay the groundwork for my move against Kim. And neither of them seemed super open. And I didn't get a good sense, like, Tom was, I couldn't tell if, like, I think we had already had the conversation with me, Tom, and Kim about being
So
the final three. So you probably know more.
so
You've seen the
those scenes
footage.
were out of order in the show. The
Yeah.
sequence was you, Tom, and Jonton talk.
Okay.
Tom goes, and this is during the Gene round. Tom goes and tells Kim, and then the following round, Kim pulls you and Tom aside and talks final three. I think that's also the round. That's also the conversation where Tom shows you the idol for the first time.
So that must have been then is I felt he wouldn't say me, Jonton, and Kim, me, Jonton, and himself, Tom. I felt he wasn't sincere about wanting that as a final three when he sort of said, "Oh yeah, I'd be okay with that." I must have perceived then because Tom is close with Kim, and Tom would want to be in a final situation, not with Jonton, but with Kim. Kim was her number one. He's not going to entertain sincerely any final situations without her, which only reinforces my not really correct perceptions.
It was interesting finding out from the footage, like everybody on the production team really knew, like Justin and Kim are really tight. I didn't realize Tom and Kim were so tight because he does go to her and like he kind of snitches on you, kind of.
Yeah, I mean, I think you know, if I wasn't such a like erratic, needing to plan for the future kind of person, me and Kim probably would have been tight. She was certainly, you know, setting it up so that we could be tight, so that she would be in a good position. And have me as another ally working with her. There were times where she would just bring up long-term strategic conversations. I remember one time while walking to a challenge, she brought up how the plan was, it was supposed to be me, it was supposed to be Jonton at 5, Justin at 4, me, Tom, Kim at final 3, but maybe we should vote out Justin at 5 because he is a you know, a good fan of this game and someone who could be good at challenges. Maybe we should take him out sooner. And I think she did that not sincerely, not that as an actual plan, but just as her, you know, playing a lot of sides and laying good groundwork for her to have a lot of options in this game. Kim, I think just was a naturally gifted player when it came to Survivor.
So you win the trivia challenge thanks to Rupert Bonham.
Oh yes, I was so happy. He was my favorite as a kid. I just it felt so perfect. It felt right. I knew this was something I could win. I wasn't gonna win anything like real that takes skill, but trivia and half the questions your Survivor. Oh yes, I knew this was my chance. It's social, and I'm in the majority. It's great. It was made.
That was a good. It was almost a good episode for you.
It could have been such a great episode for me.
It could have been.
Yeah. If you stop it there when I win immunity, I'm the greatest Survivor player of all time.
That you hit pause on the video, just tell the people you're watching with, and then I won.
Yeah, and then a storm came in, but everyone says I would have won if that tropical storm hadn't hit Massachusetts in the middle of August.
So you guys get back to camp. And I think your team decides you're gonna, like, now you know Tony's with you. He voted with you guys last time. He didn't blow the plan at all.
Yeah.
You'll split the votes between Andrew and Emma, and sort of there's a rumor that Andrew has an idol, but then you approach Jonton, Justin, and Tony about a different plan of yours, a plan to blindside Kim. How did you pick those three as the ones that you thought you could rope into this?
Yeah, I think we really got to go through the whole cast to like figure this out, because I certainly went through the whole cast in my head. Jonton is the easiest one because Kim had sincerely made plans of voting Jonton out at 5 when we get down to the final 5. Jonton was my closest person in terms of I could go to him, and I felt that if I suggest a move, he would be almost certainly on board, especially if it was a move that benefited him as well. So that was easy. Tony, the next easiest person. I had really good conversations with him about the game and about him wanting to flip the previous round. I sincerely believe that he would have no reason not to go with it, because it only puts him in a better position to be on the side of this plan that shakes things up. I didn't see a reason why he would go against it. And he seemed to be on board. With Justin, I've talked about it. I didn't have a read of where he was. My only real interest was Justin was interested in playing the game and doing well. I think, I get the sense some other people have sort of suggested like, oh, they could tell during the game Justin and Kim were like a duo. And maybe they did, and maybe I'm the one who's wrong, but I don't think that was really out there at the time. I don't think anyone had a very good sense, at least prior to this vote, for obvious reasons, that Justin and Kim were a very tight duo. Not only that, but I was able to go to Justin with something that sincerely had been said to me by Kim, which is that me, her, and Tom would be the final three, and we would vote out Justin at 4. I didn't have to lie or make stuff up in order to try and convince Justin that Kim was not on her side, and it would be better for her as a power player. It'd be better for us to take her out at this time, especially if she doesn't have your best interest in mind. And say what you want about me going to someone's number one, but I do know, I don't know if there's footage of it, but Justin and Kim have both said to me since the game that Justin went to Kim at some point and said, hey, yeah.
There is footage of this. Yeah. Kim is talking to Emma, and like Justin walks up and is like, sorry, do you want to vote me out at 5th? And she's like, no. And then they like walk away. And I think Emma looks at the camera like, okay.
And credit to them, credit to Justin for doing that, and credit to Kim for getting him back on board, that she, whatever she said, it worked. And I'm sure it helped that it was genuine. I do think up to that point, she did want to work with Justin over everyone, but I didn't just randomly decide on Justin. I had like concrete reasons that I felt would help turn him to my side. For the people I didn't go to, Kim, obviously, not Kim. Tom, really, I got this perception he wanted to play straightforward, get down to final 5, and then decide things from there. He had mentioned when he played on Berkshires that he didn't have any numbers going into the merge, and they got decimated, and I got the sense he wanted to avoid that. So I didn't want to go to Tom with that. Plus, I sincerely believed, and there does seem to be some truth to it, he was close with Kim, and he was very unlikely to want to make a move against Kim at that time. It's especially bad if I do go to Tom and he doesn't want to make the move because Tom has the idol. And I don't want to get the numbers, and then Tom gets wind of it and he plays the idol. Turns out, even if I had the numbers, somehow, some way, it got to Tom. He managed to, his master interrogation to get it out of Jonton. So, you can plan for everything, but you can't plan for Jonton, I guess.
The best laid plans of mice and men.
Yeah. So I didn't want to go to Tom with that. Then with Andrew, I feel like I almost did Andrew a disservice by not presenting the plan to him. But of course, he and Kim were literally like best friends going into this game. They're part of like this group of people and they're best friends. So that's like just different. Like if Har is going to get voted out, why would he want to vote Kim out when he could vote anyone? He could tell Kim about the plan and just vote someone else out. Now, I did listen to Andrew's interview and I was surprised because he remembers me saying it or mentioning it in some way. And when I heard Andrew say that, I was like, well, that didn't happen. But then I thought about it. I did have a one-on-one conversation with Andrew during that vote out. And I did say something along the lines of, hey, if I like just give a name and like I don't super elaborate on it, would you be down for that if it would help you? And he was like, yeah. I was like, even Kim. I did say even Kim. Now, I don't remember, and I don't think there's footage of it. Jonton might have been punching another tree or something, and the camera people were distracted. But I don't remember if I then say, okay, yeah, I got some numbers in order, and it's probably going to be Kim, or if I left it at that. But I had forgotten about it, but I did at least, try and see where Andrew's head was at. But I think I didn't ultimately go with it. And then that leaves Emma, right?
Last is Emma.
Last is Emma. And with Emma, I I couldn't tell you in the moment why I was worried about telling Emma, but I can tell you now looking back. It's that I was worried about having a moment like what Tony had with the necklace, where I would be like, "Hey Emma, I'm getting numbers together. We're gonna blindside Kim because she's a power player." And I just thought like, I thought Emma would just be like, "Why are you lying to me? Why are you bullshitting me with this plan?"
Oh, like she would
Yeah,
think you were like messing with her, like how she thought Tony was with the idol.
yeah, because I remember now I had spoken with Andrew and Emma, and I said like, "What are you guys thinking?" And I think Andrew threw out Tony's name or something just to try and save himself. And Emma said, I explicitly remember this. This is clear in my mind. She said something along the lines of, "I don't know what's the point. You guys are just going to stick together and vote us all out anyway." So I just felt like if I tell her, like, what's stopping her from going to Kim and just trying to cause chaos and
Right,
like
right.
throw me under the bus. Emma was definitely around anyone but me, do what it takes to survive player. She didn't care about this long-term situation, which worked. She almost makes it the final four off of that gameplay. But I just didn't, I wasn't confident if I tell Emma the plan doesn't get blown up either because she wants to cause chaos or she just doesn't want to believe me and she just wants to cause a bunch of shit to happen as she thinks she's leaving. She also, as I know now, didn't know idols were in the game. So God forbid I tell her and she blows it up and then oops, Tom knows. Now Tom's playing the idol. I
That's
was
true. That's true.
very, very scared of the Tom idol situation.
And in
Um,
theory, if your team is splitting the vote, four is enough to get Kim
Four
out.
was enough. I had laid it. I didn't get any more numbers than I felt I needed, and I didn't want to do that because there's no guarantee that that side doesn't have an idol. Even though I kind of didn't think it was, Tom had said Andrew had an idol, which when Tom says it, we believe it. So maybe I was worried about Andrew playing the idol for his best friend, or I was worried about Tom playing the idol for someone who may be his number one ally. So I wanted to keep it as tight as possible.
Right.
And that's my long-winded thing about how this was not a terrible move. This is actually brilliant. And I'm a genius, and I was robbed for that people didn't go with it. Should we talk about? Do you have a question about what happened right before the tribal
Yes, I
council?
was about to say. So something happened on the way to tribal council. Why don't you tell us
So
about what happened on your way to tribal?
I need to remember the sequence for the setup. I think I was going to do a confessional right before tribal. And as I'm walking, Jonton says like Justin's wishy-washy on the vote or something. So I'm like doing my confessional while like I have this in the back of my mind. Then someone's like tribal and like people start walking to tribal and I'm like, I gotta find Justin. I said to someone like, hey, where's Justin? They're like, oh, he's back there. And I look and across like the way down this bike path and I see Justin and Tony and Jonton. I see the people I need to be together, all together. Everyone else is ahead of us. There's no reason for any of them to turn back. I'm like, this is it. And I run, and there was a branch. And I had told people at least 2 or 3 times, I had personally told people, hey, watch out, there's a branch there in a root, like sticking out of the ground. And my foot caught this root, and I fell. And I fell hard. I landed, I slid. I think I landed at the feet of like your wonderful wife who was there with a camera, who was just looking down like, oh my God, like, what have you done? Why are you doing? And I got up and I said, hey, are we doing this vote? I didn't care that I fell.
You were
And I was
bleeding.
bleeding. I wasn't bleeding bad.
Well, no,
I
but
just needed like 2 band-aids.
you were
And
the.
yeah.
All I hear is Dylan, where's the first aid kit?
Yeah, but it was a harder fall. I had a good pain tolerance too, I think. So like, I was cut up a little bit. I don't know if you can see bandages suddenly appear that weren't there when you look at
Oh,
tribal.
I bet you can. We should check the
Yeah,
footage. I bet there's
we
bandages
should.
on you.
Yeah, I mean, I put on the bandages. I wasn't that much of a crazy person, but I did
To just be openly bleeding in tribal
yeah.
council.
Yeah, I wasn't that insane. Maybe it would have intimidated people to work with me. I don't know. It obviously didn't because I fall and I stand up and I say, "Are we doing this?" While like Tony and Jonton look on in horror as at my and Justin's like, "Yep," and Justin ran away to go tell Kim about the votes that I was organizing as the shamble of a man trying to make sure it's all together. And then I limped after him.
And
It
that's
really wasn't that bad a fall. I mean, I got some cuts on me, and
but
it
that
really was, yeah.
that must be when Kim is like pulling Andrew and
Yep.
Emma aside and is like, if you know what's good for you, you're gonna
Yeah.
vote for Jonton.
Yeah, it's when I'm getting put onto the stretcher to go get medical
the
assistance.
medevac.
Yeah, that is exactly when that happens. Justin's the real cold-hearted person. Justin moved the branch. He set me up. He made it so I trip. Because literally, if I can follow him, like they can't do that. Like it is
If
kind
you're
of funny
right
to
there,
think
there's
about.
nothing like,
Yeah.
if you're right there and you see Kim go up to Andrew and Emma, I assume you didn't see her do that, did you?
No, I have some sanity. I took my time walking to the tribal, and it's like a far, like
It was a
not
long
a far
trip.
it's like a minute and a half walk
Yeah.
from where the camp was to where the tribal council was, which was enough time for Kim, I guess.
It
Mm.
was it was ruthless. So you go to
Mm.
tribal. Are you like, as the votes are being cast, like, are you anticipating that this is going to go your way?
I think
Like,
when I
be
saw
honest. Don't be shy now that it didn't work. Did you think it was going to work out?
going in, I thought I was all set. I thought this was going to be awesome. And then I saw Jonton, one vote, and I was like, oh, maybe not. I had some weird vibes walking into the tribal, like when we're all together. I'm gonna be honest, I thought people were judging me for having fallen and tripped and being such like that's the weird vibes were there. I'm not gonna say like, oh, I've got, but like I noticed it, but I really thought people were judging me for like being covered in bandages and having fun. I really was just like kind of embarrassed and ignoring the weird vibes. I really, but there was something there, but I didn't have a perception that this wasn't going to work. And then when I see Jonton, I'm like, maybe there's a flaw in my plan.
Because you're like, that's not a name you thought was coming up at all.
No, but by the second Jonton, I was like, hey, this is kind of cool. I'm the doofus. I'm the guy who failed to make a move. This is fun. I'm like in my head, I'm trying to be an optimist. I'm like, this is so cool. Now I gotta like play from the bottom. That after putting myself in this position, cool. And then and John Hahn gets voted out, and it's like, but like it's kind of like it's a combination of, oh, my plan failed, but also like, hey, this is kind of an epic scenario. Now I gotta like fight my way back and like scramble. This will be so exciting.
And then I say, we're going to do another tribal council.
Yeah. I knew then that I was screwed because I knew from Berkshire's it was probably going to be the balance thing. I have no balance. I have zero. I have anti-balance. There's a reason I fell 5 minutes earlier. You made an injured man go straight into a tribal council. You horrible, horrible person. How could you do this? This is why the game was rigged against me. Another note in the file, another piece of evidence for how I was robbed.
This is the Stacey Stillman lawsuit all over again. Even worse.
Even worse.
My understanding is you made a last minute ditch to like get Justin. Do you remember that?
Yeah, I remember this clearly actually because my brain was going overtime at this point because I had to play a whole round worth of Survivor in 2 minutes. So I was out second, I think.
Yeah,
so
like second or third, I think.
I sit down with Andrew.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I explain what I thought the vote was because at that point I sincerely think me, Jonton, Tony all voted one way, and Justin and Kim flipped everything to go the other way. So I say to Andrew, I can't make a great pitch because there's a limited amount of time, but I basically say, hey, I'll vote with you. Justin just screwed me over. I'll vote out Justin because I obviously can't work with them. I'll be next to go. I'll vote with you, Emma, Tony. Take out Justin. That's all we need. I'll go to you, the final four. And blah, blah, blah. I don't know what I said. I don't know what reasoning I said. I said I might as well accept fourth place or something. Who knows what I said? But I made the pitch to Andrew. Then Kim was the next person out, which is just perfect. I wish I should have called a camera person over or something. This was so like perfect. But she sits on the other side of Andrew, and she's like a disappointed like teacher or like a parent. She's like, I just don't understand why that had to happen. Or
She said
like,
that to you?
She said no, she said that with me there looking straight ahead is what she said. She didn't even look at me. And then she turns and looks at me, and I came right back. I was like, why did that happen? Because of that. Because that just happened. Because you just flipped that vote. You're gonna win this game. And Andrew's in the middle, like this is like a tennis match. I'm like, and I think Kim, like on some level, was sincere that she didn't want to vote out any of the horrors and didn't feel like she had to. I think on some level she was sincerely. I think like I can't tell, and I would love to hear from Kim how much of that was like her playing it up because Andrew was there and she wanted to seem like I was the villain, and how much of that was her being sincerely hurt. I'm sure on some level she was a little like pissed off and mad.
I mean, she had that great voting
Yeah.
confessional.
Oh, that was so good. When she told me about that, like after filming it, I was like, oh, that's so great. I said it was a vote of respect, and you just said fuck you. That's so amazing.
It is.
The contrast.
This is a vote of respect. I hope
felt
you
so
understand.
bad. I felt
Screw
really
you,
bad.
Zach.
I felt really like bad about the possible because I respected Kim so much and I liked her so much as a person. But yeah, she was just like playing it up like maybe not even playing it up, but she was like, you know, annoyed that I had done something like that.
She wasn't being subtle about it. Yeah.
No. And I was sincerely just being like, because you're gonna win this game, and I would prefer if I win this game. So I said what I said to Andrew, and then Emma comes back after the challenge is over. I don't know if I just like, I don't know what happens in between. Well, for me, I probably just watched the challenge or something. But then Emma sits down on my right, and I'm like, all right, I just spoke with Andrew. It's gonna be me, you, Tony. We're gonna vote out Justin. And Emma's like, okay. And I'm like, cool, perfect. She's convinced. And then, as you mentioned during Andrew's interview, you did say like, hey, does anyone want to say something? You know, trying to, I don't know what you were trying to do, trying to get a live tribal going or something. But, you know, here's how like the universe is like trying to fuck with me at this point. Andrew stands up, and here's Andrew, who I just made this plan with. And who does he go to? He goes to Tony, and he whispers to Tony, and all eyes are on him. So I can go to Emma and be like, yeah, no, look, Andrew's telling Tony about the Justin plan. Look, this is gonna happen. Like I'm like what else could I think? I was like, this is great. This is maybe, you know, I didn't fully believe it, you know, but I thought
Like,
maybe it looked like I didn't grab Tony because I had a reason not to. You know, I didn't just telepathically throw out this vote and hope it would happen. Like the universe was really trying to mess with me. There was reason to think like maybe this could happen, but I knew like it was either going to be close or I was going to get destroyed, and I got destroyed.
it was unique, but you know what? Like everyone said good game on the way out. Like I think people clapped for you.
Don't remember that at all, but I'm gonna believe you. I'm
Go
gonna
watch the
believe
footage. I think people clapped.
you know, believe it or not, I don't pay attention to that much once I hit that point in the footage. Don't know why, but that's
Just
not my
glazes over.
sincerely, the merge vote's my favorite vote. I love the merge vote way more than my episode. I don't know why, but just some reason.
Damn, that's crazy. The round where
Yeah.
things go your way, you like better.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know, man.
Ultimately, you do get voted out. You go on to be one of my favorite jurors in terms of your reactions, specifically you and Jonton next to each other, like still hitting each other, still like grabbing each other when things happen. Like you two like whisper to each other. Do you want to talk about any of those tribals from when you were on the jury? Any thoughts that you had during them?
Honestly, I think the merge vote, you know, the planning to try and get the Kim vote happen, and then being on the jury are like my favorite parts of the Millennium Park experience. You know, the highs, the lows, and then just being able to, you know, be a fan of Survivor. I'm seeing Survivor happen right in front of my eyes. I don't get to have a full idea of what's going on, and it's a lot of fun. Getting to hang with Gene and John. We took lunch break right after my vote out.
That's right. Yeah.
And getting to hang a lot with Gene and Jonton, who are both obviously great people. You know, Gene's awesome. I don't need to tell anyone that. Jonton is very fun. They also knew each other in college. So you all went to the same
That's
college,
right. Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Yeah, so I got to hear stories about how Jonton like had to leave a rehearsal once and then like he jumped in a river or something. Maybe you know this story.
I
He
don't know if
lost
I might have graduated by the time that
I don't
happened.
know. Yeah, I think he lost his phone or something, and so he went to see if it was in a river, and people were like coming into rehearsal like, "Hey, Jonton's in the river" or something. I don't know, but just a lot of stories of how. You know, I'm sure you can attest to it. Apparently, Jonton was a lot crazier in college. He himself volunteered this info, and Gene would stand there like, "No, Zach, like it's true. It's true. He's a lot more normal."
You know what? This is why I was like the one disappointment is I was like, damn, like I wish we had like one extra camera person who could have been like the Ponderosa person.
Yeah.
Like we
No, there
just have,
you could have had some really great. And then Andrew getting voted out, and we go get ice cream. And it was also really fun to like get that trickle of information where like Andrew gets voted out and we're able to speculate about what happened, and Andrew gives his perspective and gives us some information and things like that. It was a lot of fun. And then, you know, these very interesting vote outs that happen from this point forward. You know, nothing was straightforward from our perspective on the jury, and it was great to like get to witness it firsthand and be there seeing it actually happen.
going into like that final four. Are you rooting for Kim at that point?
Yep. So what I had been saying was I would vote for Kim or whoever was the main person to take out Kim. From my perspective, and again, I don't know, Justin did his little wonky vote. I think Tony was the last person who actually stuck with me. I'm thinking I see Tony as like this leader of the like, from my perspective, and I do think it's true to some extent, Tony was like the sane man who like couldn't get people to listen to him as he was like trying to make the correct moves, like trying to get that rock draw at 3 so that the Tortuga can get the majority. You know, it just I was rooting for Tony if Kim didn't make it, unless someone else very clearly was the person to take out Kim. If Tom, when he plays his idol, if he writes down Kim's name, it doesn't matter what happens from there. If he gets the end, I vote for Tom because I respected Kim so much. And for anyone to be the person to take her out, I would have respected them because it's also just like, I mean, it is probably a bit of validation too. Like, I tried to make a move against Kim, so she should win because she beat me. Because I genuinely like I want to lose to the best if I lose to someone. And I want to show you all that you're stupid and you should have voted Kim out. We skipped over it, but I gotta give like the one take I want to give about Millennium Park. And you know, maybe from someone, if someone else said it isn't as controversial or whatever, but genuinely voting me out at final 7, I think is everyone's worst move. Everyone's worst move. It makes zero sense for anyone to do it. Because if you're the Tortuga, what's better than having me and Kim there? Because then the horrors are never going to connect together. It's going to be so much easier for you as a tribe that came in with the minority of people to retake a majority and get to the end. For Tom to vote out 2 horrors in a row, walk up to a camera and go, "This is exactly what I didn't want to happen." Like, you did it. You did it. It's the Eric Andre meme. It's like you shot 2 horrors and then you said, "How could Zach do this?" You had an idol. You could have stopped it. Even Kim, what is better than have someone who's in the game and you can say, "Hey, I'm clearly against this person. You can vote with me because you know I'm not against you. I'm against that person."
Right.
And instead, they create a situation where it's 3 versus 3 and they could have gone to rocks. Maybe Kim, I know Justin didn't, and he was worried because he said it on the show and made it to YouTube that he was worried about how they were going to avoid a rock draw. So I know Justin didn't think they had the numbers going into that final 6. So it doesn't make sense for him to do it. It doesn't make sense for Tom to do it. It doesn't make sense for the Tortuga. Maybe Kim knew she could flip Emma. She's probably the only person I can give a pass because I am the one who tried to get her out. But really, like, it's just I shouldn't go there. I shouldn't. It doesn't make sense. It doesn't, but it's a testament to how good Kim was at the game because she was the one who said, "Hey, you want to vote Zach?"
That's an excellent point you just made about how like the Tortugas could have known that you and Kim would never work together. The fact that you targeted Justin that round instead of Kim, The fact that you like, because like I thought like the obvious move was like double down, like stick to like guys like I just told, like I'm telling you we have to like, but you switched. That's very interesting.
Yeah, I mean, it didn't work before. I got to switch it up a little bit. I have legitimate reason. Plus, I can't go for Kim in that situation. I can't go for any of the Tortuga because I want them to vote together. I can't go for Tom because I'm gonna need to dig myself out of this hole, and Tom's the guy with the shovel in the form of the immunity idol. So I can't go against Tom. So Justin made sense, and legit, he was like the person who snitched on me. And you know, there's a lot of good reasoning and you know, testament to me for naturally coming to that conclusion. I was also just kind of annoyed at him because he blew up my plan.
He blew up your,
obviously he shouldn't. He's
little you know, voted for Kim.
yeah, well, he was making 10 times the moves I was. He'll go far. He'll make it someday.
I do have to ask real quick before we get to like final tribal and like end game, that final 5 where all 4 of them vote for Tom and Tom plays his idol. You, I think, you would have been the only juror at that point who knew about Tom's idol for sure and had seen it. And you knew that Kim and Justin knew about it. So was it weird to you that they would vote for him at that round that he played it? Was it sus to you?
Yeah, it was so strange to me in the moment. And thank you for asking about it, because I think I had told Jonton that Tom did have an idol. But even still, like there was some talk, because Emma had voted with them the round before. There was like some talk amongst the jurors, like maybe Emma is with Justin and Kim or something like that, or maybe Emma is closer in and has a final whatever kind of plan. So it had come up at a certain point, like if Tony wins immunity, maybe the vote's on Emma, maybe it's on Tom. And I knew Tom had the idol. I knew he had shown it to me and Kim, because I had said, and this is something you should do if you're on this fucking whatever type of Survivor. If someone says they have an idol, your first word is, okay, show me the idol. So you know they actually have an idol.
Right.
So I had seen it, I knew Kim had seen it, and I knew at the very least Justin knew about the idol. So when I see, they were like, oh yeah, I bet they'll vote out Tom. I was like, maybe like 3 votes for Tom, but I know Kim at the very, very least is definitely not voting for Tom. So it was very shocking to me. I was extra shocked. I think you see it on the actual footage when the 4th Tom vote came out, because it just didn't make any sense. I was like, what the hell is going on? This is when Tom's going to play his idol. So then, of course, we get out and we're like, we got to find out what happened from Emma. And Emma has gone to get a dog. She went to get your puppy and bring the puppy back. So like, no exaggeration, like 20 minutes, the jurors are like losing their minds trying to like wait for Emma to get back. And finally she does. And, you know, Emma explains what happened from her perspective. And I've seen the footage now, and I can definitively say I still have no idea why that happened. I don't understand it. It makes no sense to me. It's like Tom said it, and then they were all just like, yeah, I guess we'll all vote for you. And no one stopped and said, why are we doing this? Yeah, so it still confuses me, is my answer. I still don't know why it happened. I'd love a good explanation for why they just like, because it's like, it's not, at most it like makes Tom look like a badass and like gets him more jury votes, and that doesn't help anyone whose name isn't Tom.
That's
so
right.
Yeah, it was weird. It was sus.
I do have to ask you as a juror, this is kind of a BS question, but you know, Tom went to the final immunity and he ends up taking Justin at the end. Do you think that he made the right choice taking Justin and voting out Tony?
Yeah, it's a harder question to answer in hindsight, knowing Justin won. If you asked me before Final Tribal Council started, I would have told you definitely yes, because going into Final Tribal Council, Justin was definitely not going to win. Myself, Gene, and Jonton, we all sort of had Justin at the bottom. I don't really bottom of our totem pole in terms of who we wanted to win. I don't know as much for Gene, but I know me and Jonton had talked a little bit about how we saw Justin as an extension of Kim, someone working with Kim. But why would you vote for Justin when you could vote for Kim? Also, we had been, of course, burned by Justin in a move we tried to make for him that he didn't end up going with. So why would we do that when, you know, we could vote for Kim or someone who isn't him at the very least? We weren't Justin had a very good game in terms of keeping what he was doing hidden and not making as obvious as to the types of moves he was making and how much influence he had. I think that became more obvious once the late game hit, but you can afford for it to become obvious because he has this connected final two in Kim. So he was able to survive because he had those connections and because he wasn't seen as much of a threat during the earlier portion of the game. But that has the side effect of he needs to give a good final tribal council speech to elaborate on his gameplay. If there isn't a final tribal council setup and we just vote based on what we knew, I think Justin loses like 5-2. It flips the other way because I didn't see what Justin had done that I give him credit for over like giving Kim credit for or something like that. And I think Gene and Jonton also don't vote for him. And of course, Emma and Andrew ended up voting for Tom. So, this is again speculation. This is just the read I got from talking to people. But in the moment, it seemed like it made sense. It wouldn't have made sense, I think, to take Tony because of the immunity run, as well as the goodwill with the Tortuga people, as well as the fact that like I respected Tony's game. And I think Jonton, at the very least, he said Tony was like crushing it in immunity challenges. He respected Tony to some extent. So I think there's clear reasons to not take Tony. Maybe it's a different thing. Maybe Tom gives a good reason for me to vote for him over Tony. Again, like you said, we'll never know, so we can't say for certain.
Yeah.
But in the moment, I think there's easier justifications for taking Justin over Tony.
Was there anything that you remember from the final tribal council that like was the decision maker for you? Like, was there anything that you heard that like you were like, okay, like that's like this, I know how I'm voting now?
Yeah, so my wheels started turning, like my mind started opening up when Justin said that he was the actual third vote for Kim and it wasn't Tony. And I remember you actually didn't show it, but my first question wasn't to Justin or Tom.
Yeah.
I asked Tony on the jury, hey, who did you vote for in the Jonton vote? And he confirmed he voted for Jonton, and Justin was telling the truth. So I was impressed by that because that is, especially because that's like the go-to like stupid move you make in an ORG. Like, I'm gonna vote the other way and cause some chaos, but like he actually did that. Like he did the thing like people say in an online game they'll do, but like actually did it and it worked, and he made it have tangible effect on the game by ostracizing Tony because of that. So it was legit like a very impressive thing for him to do. And then when I asked Tom like what his perspective was, the only answer he can give is like he didn't want Hara's to be gone, so he voted out Hara. And like he says like the worst thing where he's like, I voted out Jonton because I couldn't vote out you. Which at that point as a super fan, like I can't do that. It's like the reverse John Robert, where you like make it so certain this person will never vote for you in one fell swoop.
It was a hilarious line, but it was maybe not the best like jury. It wasn't a good read of what you wanted to hear.
It was pretty it was the worst thing he could have said, probably. Just like not even in like I was offended way. It's just like this is not what you do. You don't say that. What are you doing? And Justin just gave a very solid reasoning throughout the entire thing. He had a really good final tribal council.
He had a good final tribal. He had a good final tribal. So Justin ends up winning. The season's over. Zach, I've got to know, and this is a non-binding contract. If presented the opportunity, would you play again?
No, Dylan. The question is, when are you running season 2 so you can run maybe season 3? So then you can run All Stars. We know this is the question, Dylan. Dylan, you can call me up in August, 2 or 3 years from now. Be like, Zach, I forgot to tell you, All Stars is today, and it's starting in an hour. And I'll say I'll be there. And if I'm not there, just start without me, and I'll just jump in when it's going. I am so ready. This is on you, mister. This is not on if I'll play. This is on when you're going to let me play again. That's the question here.
Well, Tom waited 8 years to play again. Maybe in like 2029, I'll call you.
I will be there. I ideally will have kids at the time, but oh well. They will.
Sorry, kids. Dad's got to go win $200.
Yeah, that's a lot of toys and I don't know what do kids play with nowadays.
Like kids
An
kids like
iPad? I don't
kids
know.
like iPads. You could
Yeah,
almost buy a really old iPad.
yeah, that's a U-Pad or some knockoff or something like that. Yeah, but yeah, I'll be there. I'll be. You could tomorrow. You could tell me there's that. Yeah, I will leap at the opportunity to play again. Can this be a binding contract so that I have something to hold over your head? That's what I want.
No comment on season 2 at this time. No comment. Zach, this has been an awesome conversation. Do you have time for just a couple of quick fan questions?
I mean, what's another 2 hours if you got the questions for me?
All right, we got one. Daniel wants to know, as a Survivor super fan, if you could have been on one season of the actual show, what one would you have wanted to be on?
Oh, that's such a great question. To be on as a player, probably like millennials versus Gen X. Big like that's a cast I think I could integrate well with. And the cast seems to be like a lot of good people. Like I don't hear any stories from that cast about like the one person who everyone hated or something. Like most of the cast will like get together for types of reunions and things like that. It's something I think I could have done well with. And if not, at the very least, I have fun. I get to be a part of the millennials tribe, which is like the best tribe of all time. And I could be with Adam Klein and watch Adam Klein freaking out over every little thing. It would have been so much fun. Definitely, probably millennials versus Gen X.
That you would be good on that. I think you'd be fun on the real show. I think you'd be very fun. You're a very good confessionalist, I think.
I would do great if you removed all the survival stuff. If they made an exception for me and like let me sleep in like a hotel like a couple miles away, I would do so well. I would do horrible in terms of the survival stuff though. I can't sleep in the winter without a fan on because I get too warm.
Same. I get that. Yeah.
Yeah. So die. I would die.
You would
and
die.
and the show would get canceled because the first ever person died on the show. So I probably shouldn't go on.
Until that happens, you can play Survivor Millennium Park All Stars. You could be on Survivor Millennium Park Game Changers, Survivor Millennium Park.
Yeah, that's what it'd be. I wouldn't make All Stars because there's too many people from horror who would have to be on All Stars. So I'd get the leftovers on Game Changers is where I would end up.
This next question comes from, this is actually me because I consider myself a fan of you.
Why didn't you just wait? What is the difference between this question you're about to ask me and the questions you've been asking me all night? What is the separation? Why is this one question after the fan question? Why didn't you just ask this before the fan question? This is going to be a good question.
You'll see what I ask. Zach, do you have any other strategy game shows that you're a fan of?
Yeah, so for me, the big show that I'm obsessed with is a South Korean show called The Genius. It is amazing. It is basically a show that takes the social strategy games of like Survivor and Big Brother, but puts them in this really competitive setting where each round has this different game that is played called a main match, which are basically like jumped up versions of like board games and party games. But the strategy is like on another level. The editing is top notch. It is a bitch to try and watch. There's no legal way, unfortunately, to watch in the US. But I'm in the ORG community, which isn't too big for The Genius because it's obscure. I'm in an ORG for it now. It's like my 4th ORG for The Genius in like a year because I'm obsessed. And also I got booted out first in one of them, so that kind of sped up the process. But,
then you just apply for another one.
Exactly. But that's the best show. Anyone who is a fan of Survivor, Big Brother, reality TV, who just like enjoys board game nights, find The Genius. You can find it, I think, for the subreddit. There's a way to download the videos. I would recommend the legal way to watch it if I could.
If you could, but you can't. So I
can't. Yeah. So, but watch it. People who are on like LRG Facebook pages or stuff like that for around Massachusetts probably know by now, but I have actually started putting together my own live game for The Genius because I had so much fun in Millennium Park that inspired me to want to take my favorite show and put it in give people the same experience I got through Millennium Park. So the Genius Massachusetts is a thing that's happening on a small scale. It's coming in the next couple of weeks. The casting's done, and I've got the game organized. It's not going to be filmed for this first season that we're doing. I'm looking at this as sort of a season 0, where I've got the groundwork for the game, and I can make sure that the players can have fun, and I've got a good game set up, and then build the production from there over the course of a year. Not working on it straight for a year. I'm not putting that much effort into it, but have the groundwork there, and then be able to film a season 1. But yeah, if anyone is a fan of the Genius or is interested in live games, then for whatever reason you've watched this for 2 hours, but you're not a fan of Survivor, the email
they're just fans of you.
Yeah, exactly. The email I've used is thegeniusma2021@gmail.com. Feel free to email it, and I'll add you to a mailing list, so that when we're doing casting for the season 1, the season that'll hopefully actually happen and it'll be filmed, I can make sure that anyone who's a fan of Millennium Park gets priority for interviews and things like that.
There we go. All right, Zach, I've got one more question from arguably your biggest fan.
Oh my God,
Jonton.
Let's go.
Jonton says, what words do you have for the Zach Jonton shippers?
Live long, live proud. Believe in the truth. The truth is out there. Zach and Jonton are the real winners of the season, and Dylan reshot it because he wasn't happy with the results. He paid everyone to pretend that Justin won.
How much could I have paid these people? Like, what, $5?
Dylan is also Jeff Bezos's bastard child.
And you can tell because of the high production quality of the challenges that I handmade.
Yes. Yes. Also, that Dylan was not involved in the production of Survivor Millennium Park. It was a production team, and Dylan just stood there, and Dylan actually green screened in. He wasn't actually there. I've never met Dylan Torchinsky before.
I CGI'd the sweat.
Yeah, it was that. I forgot about the sweat. That was the best part, is watching you in real time turn into a puddle.
That I was the sweatiest one. Like, the host is they're supposed to come out like, hey everybody, I'm Jeff Probst, but I'm like,
you were literally like incomprehensible at the end of day 1.
Just gibberish. There's audio files of me explaining challenges where I had to like cut out pauses, rearrange words. I'm like, well, that's closer to a sentence.
Yeah, it was a sight to behold. I almost wish the second day was as hot, just to like watch you in real time lose your sanity.
And the winner is Jonton.
Yeah, I know. That leads me with, I think, what is a great way to end this potentially and give a good image in people's mind, is that when you're giving your pitch to the camera, like, what a season, Justin won, we're gonna film again, I am so sincerely trying to get Jonton to tackle you in that moment, because there's nothing the fans deserve more than for you to be earnestly hyped and pointing at the camera like a professional wrestler, and for just Jonton to just speed in from the side and knock you over like a freight train. I think that's what the people deserved. And if there is a season 2, I will definitely be trying to get on that production team to sneak in Jonton, to make sure he can pop out of the woods and tackle you during the end of season 2.
Season 2, we'll do, like, instead of Jeff Probst on the water ski, I'll get on Jonton's back and we'll ride out of Millennium Park to deliver the votes to New York.
Oh my God, how great would that be? You like, Jonton's like trying to steal the votes, and you do this whole thing. Yeah.
We almost did that for this. We were going to do like a Jeff Probst leaving sequence.
Yeah, I think that would have been awful. I think not the leaving sequence, that's great. Just like not telling the people right there who won, I think would have driven us all insane.
It would. And after I was like, oh, we all took this kind of seriously. We should not end on a prank. We should wrap this up.
Yeah.
Well, Zach, thank you so much for taking the time to chat. This was a pleasure to talk with you, as I knew it would be. From the minute we had our like preseason like casting interview, I was like, Zach is going to be a fantastic fit for this show. I'm so glad you got to play. I'm so glad that you went out swinging, as I think any good Survivor fan should want. It didn't work out, but like you said, if the goals were to win or to have fun, and you could only have to have fun, I'm glad that you had fun. It was a real pleasure to have you on the show.
Yeah, well, thank you for everything you did, from the event itself to everything you've done since then in post-production, and really just like making this something so much more than like the bare minimum some people might have done. You really have, like, I'm not just talking to you up because you're here and you're interviewing me. Like, genuinely, I respect you so much for all the effort you put into this to make this something special. And you deserve really to be proud of this whole thing.
I appreciate that a lot, Zach. Well, thank you again for taking the time. And I'll be in touch in 2 to 3 years for All Stars.
Oh yeah, I can't wait. You sure we can't just make it 6? We could do everyone on this cast was an all-star. Just do it again, same cast.
Just run it from the top.
It's from the top. Can you imagine? You're like, it's all-star, but I'm bringing back like the Berkshire people, so don't tell anyone. And then the whole cast shows up.
Just everyone.
Like, I tricked you all.
Gotcha. All right, Zach. Thanks so much, man. We'll talk soon.
Yeah, thank you so much, Dylan.